everyone, it is Dani'i and welcome to this update video this morning. I trust and hope that you're doing fantastic. And Philippe has been making its mark on the eastern islands with a lot of heavy rainfall, which has triggered massive flooding across some areas. So we'll be looking at the latest for the storm. Let's get straight into it, looking at the satellite imagery here of parts of the Caribbean. There we can see that it is quite prominent, bringing a lot of heavy rainfall, gusty winds, and even those rough seas to majority of the Lesser Antilles, especially heading up to the Leeward Islands. So I have been seeing the comments from you guys from Dominica, St. Lucia. Yesterday there was a lot going on in Barbados with those thunderstorms. I saw the comments from you guys, and now other areas, Antigua, Barbuda, Guadeloupe, even going over to St. Kitts and Nevis, Montserrat, are feeling the impacts of this tropical storm. At a much closer view, where you're seeing those shades of grays and those purples, that is where we find very tall clouds. So the different colors here, they're really to represent the height of those clouds, and usually with these very high clouds, that is where we would typically find a lot of the heavy rainfall, those thunderstorms, and even those strong winds as well. So as I said, this is impacting most of the Leeward Islands. And by the way, in addition to that tropical storm warning for Antigua and Barbuda, Anguilla is now under a tropical storm warning. So not only Anguilla, but other areas, St. Martin, going to St. Barthélemy, Saba, St. Eustatius, St. Kitts and Nevis, Montserrat, all these areas are experiencing or will be experiencing tropical storm conditions at some point through today, especially with that very heavy rainfall, which has been triggering flooding. And also guys, thank you so much for sending those videos to me on Instagram. It's been very intense out there with those impacts from Philippe, the tropical storm force winds, the massive flooding. And by the way, I will be showing you guys some of the videos which have been taken, especially in Dominica, of all the flooding that has been occurring there. So stay tuned to the latter of this video where I'll go into that. But firstly, we want to look at what's ahead for the day. So we're looking at the cone forecast here from the National Hurricane Center as of 5 a.m. this morning, and the maximum sustained winds of Philippe remain at 50 miles per hour. So again, it is being impacted by that shear, and as a result, all that activity is displaced to the east and south of the center of it. So because it hasn't gotten that chance to become symmetrical and really strengthen, it is holding on to those sustained winds of around 50 miles per hour, and it is making its way up to the northwest at 8 miles per hour. So moving slightly faster, but it is still a slow moving storm. Now, as we're going to be heading into tomorrow morning, this is the expected position of the center. So many persons would see this and say, okay, it's going to be out tomorrow, but no, that is not going to be the case. Why? Because again, the wind shear is acting on it. It is that very shear which has displaced all that convection to the southeast and brought those massive thunderstorms all the way south to Barbados, and even resulted in impacts in other islands such as St. Lucia, Martinique, and even Dominica as well. So pretty far away from the center of the system, there were those impacts because of the wind shear causing that displacement. And also last evening at approximately 6 p.m., the storm made landfall in Barbuda. And landfall, that is basically when that low-level center of circulation makes its way onshore. But as we have been seeing, all that activity has been displaced from its center. So at the time, there wasn't really anything happening with it. It was really as the night went on and even into now when those tropical storm conditions are being felt there. And there we can see those blue highlights indicating that tropical storm warning. Now, as we're going to be heading into tomorrow, there's still likely going to be those impacts again. The heavy rainfall, the gusty winds, due to the wind shear displacing all that activity further south, it is likely that those impacts are going to be continuing into tomorrow. And then other areas, such as the Virgin Islands, could experience some rainfall activity later today. Now, as we head further out, they'll go into the latter of this week, the system could make a very close approach to Bermuda. We want to watch for that as we head into the latter of this week. But of course, guys, I'm going to be talking more about that as the days go by. But if you're in Bermuda, Bermuda heads up because this system could be very close in proximity. But I'm kind of focusing on the short term because we're dealing with a life-threatening situation here. So now we want to go ahead and move on to this wind shear map. Here we can see it now. In those areas of those red lines, that is unfavorable shear. Those are the strong upper level winds. So what happens is that as these thunderstorms develop and they grow and then they meet those winds in the upper levels of the atmosphere, those winds just displace all that activity to the south and east of the system. So there we can see those arrows indicating the direction from which the wind is blowing. So that northwesterly shear, it's coming from the northwest because the center is just around there. So these winds coming in from the northwest are pushing all that activity further to the south and east of the storm. So we find that the northwestern side is vacant of any substantial activity. So as I said, with the system being a bit further up north tomorrow, there could still be those ongoing impacts, especially across the Leeward Islands. Now, as it relates to the rainfall activity, let's first talk about the Caribbean and surrounding areas on a whole before narrowing down to the totals expected for the islands being impacted by Philippe. So across the Bahamas and even the Turks and Caicos Islands, sections of the Greater Antilles, Cuba, maybe even parts of the Cayman Islands as well, Jamaica, some spots in Hispaniola and Puerto Rico, there could be some heavy downpours at times, especially as we head to this afternoon. And then looking over in Central America, we're seeing some of those shades of reds, burgundies, even those purples for northwestern Colombia. So a lot of heavy rainfall, and this could even trigger some flooding for you guys there. So please stay safe if you're to be affected by this. And then for the ABC Islands, we're seeing some of those shades of yellows and greens. Hopefully that is going to come to fruition. I know that you guys have been longing for some rainfall, so maybe just around a quarter to a half inch of rainfall thereabout for the ABC Islands at some point through today. For Trinidad, Tobago, maybe some scattered showers and thunderstorms, nothing too crazy. Same story for Grenada, the Grenadines, and for Barbados, there's going to be improved conditions compared to yesterday. For the Guyanas, though, unfortunately, much is not expected. There might be some showers here and there, but for the most part, nothing major is on the horizon. Now, as it relates to the islands being affected by Philippe, for Barbuda southward to Dominica, by the way, this is the Euro map, and we can even see those pink shadings and those purple shadings for the northeastern Caribbean islands. So for Barbuda southward to Dominica, which includes Antigua, heading toward Guadeloupe, and of course Dominica, 4 to 8 inches of rain. These are flooding rains here that will be continuing through today, and especially in Dominica where the soil is already so saturated with all that water from the flooding which has been ongoing there. So unfortunately it is likely to continue. And then as we head to the rest of the Leeward Islands and the northern Windward Islands, so that would include Anguilla, going to St. Martin, St. Barthélemy, St. Kitts and Nevis, Saba, St. Eustatius, Montserrat, and even down to Martinique, there could be 3 to 5 inches of rainfall between now and tomorrow. And then for the Virgin Islands, 1 to 3 inches. So again, this rainfall would be good to offset the heat for the Virgin Islands, but at the same time, there could be some isolated cases of flooding. So that is what is to expect, guys. It is definitely not safe out there, and unfortunately, this is going to be continuing a bit longer. So of course, I'm here to keep you posted, and stay tuned for my next updates coming this evening. But now here are some of the clips of the flooding that has been taking place. And so there you have seen it for yourself. It has not been a good situation there. I'm sure there has been some substantial damage done, unfortunately. And this is the unfortunate reality when we're talking about tropical cyclones. And I have been fearing this, and I even spoke about it in previous updates, that we would love this rainfall activity to help with the heat, but at the same time, there could be those adverse effects, the flooding, and that is exactly what is ongoing right now. So if you're being affected, please continue to stay safe as best as you can. Do not take any unnecessary risks, and my thoughts and my prayers are with everyone being affected or who have been affected negatively by this storm. And so that is pretty much what I wanted to share with you in this update. I trust and hope you found it to be quite informative, but if you have any questions, please do leave them in the comments. I'll respond to you once I get the chance to do so, and as always, remember to be weatherwise.